In today's lesson, we're going to talk about unit ratios and some more about some equal ratios. So as we get going here, we're going to look at Mr. Patel's class has 24 students and 16 computers. So the ratio of students to computers is 24 to 16. Okay, the next thing it asks us to do is to identify three equal ratios that are equal to 24 to 16. So what I can do is I can just start simplifying that. I notice that 24 and 16 are both even numbers, so I'm going to divide both of those by 2. Well, 24 divided by 2 is 12, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. So 12 to 8 is an equal ratio to 24 to 16. I can keep going. 12 and 8 are both even numbers, so I can divide both of those by 2 as well. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 6 to 4 is also an equal ratio to 24 to 16. It's also an equal ratio to 12 to 8. 6 and 4 are both even numbers, so I can divide both of those by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So 3 to 2 is also an equal ratio to 24 to 16. It's also equal to 6 to 4, and it's equal to 12 to 8. Now the equivalent unit ratio, the thing about a unit ratio is it always has a 1 on the, it always has a 1 for the second number, or if you write it as a fraction, it has a 1 on the bottom. Okay, so I know that my second number is going to be 1. Now, the way I get this is I just take, and I could take any one of these, but I'm just going to take our original one, 24 divided by 16. Okay, if I go to my calculator and I type in 24 divided by 16, I get my unit ratio right there of 1.5. So it's 1.5, that's what goes before the 1. So the 1.5 would come first, the 1 would come second. That is my unit ratio. Again, the unit ratio has a 1 on the bottom. Now, if I could do that with any of these equal ratios I've identified. So if I took 12 divided by 8, I'd get 1.5. If I took 6 divided by 4, I get 1.5. If I take 3 divided by 2, I get 1.5. Okay? So that is how it works for a unit ratio. Okay, moving on. We've got Mr. Patel's class, 24 to 16. We've identified the unit ratio there. And what that means is there's 1.5 students for every computer. So now we're going to go to Miss Wong's class. Okay, and then Miss Wong's class is 22 to 20. So we're going to write that as a fraction, which would be 22 over 20. Okay, and I'm going to simplify that. Well, 22 over 20, that simplifies to 11 over 10. Okay, and if I take 11 divided by 10, that's going to give me my unit ratio over 1. So if I go to my calculator and take 11 divided by 10, 1.1 is my unit ratio. So it would be 1.1 to 1. Now what does that mean? It means there are 1.1 students for every computer. Okay, next we're going to go on to Miss Reynolds' class. So her ratio is 30 to 20. So that would be 30 over 20. Okay, 30 over 20 is going to simplify to 3 over 2, because I can just knock the zeros off of the 30 and the 20 on that one. And then again, to get my unit ratio, I am just going to take 3 divided by 2, and I get 1.5. So I know that my unit ratio is going to be 1.5 over 1. So that's 1.5 colon 1. Now what does that mean in words? It means there are 1.5 students for every computer. Okay, and then the question says, which class has the least number of students for every computer? Well, that would be Miss Wong's class. Because in Miss Wong's class, there's only 1.1 students for every computer. If you look at Mr. Patel's and Miss Reynolds' class, they each have 1.5 students for every computer. So the least one is Miss Wong's. All right, moving on here. You can see the example here, and it gives the definition for unit ratios. Okay, they're always written as some number compared to 1. Okay, so 1's always going to be the second number, or it's always going to be the bottom number. Okay, looking at example 1, that's the one that we just went through. So if you need to take some time to make sure you've got that one, go ahead. You can pause the video at any time to stop or go back and see anything you want, or listen to anything you may have missed the first time. So feel free to do that at any time. Okay, here's example 2. This one is talking about having two quantities have to be like units. Okay, so in this case, they're talking about a 10-month lease and a 3-year lease. So as you can see, one's in months and one's in years, so it's hard to compare that way. So what they did, they're going to change both units to months and then simplify. Okay, so what they did was 3 years, okay, the 36 comes from, in 3 years, well, there are 12 months in 1 year. Okay, so 3 times 12, that gives you 36 months. Okay, that's where this 36 comes from. Okay, so then they just went ahead and simplified it to 5 over 18 and divided it and got the unit ratio of 0.27 to 1. Okay, moving on to the problems here. It says, in a math class there are 12 boys and 18 girls. We need to express the ratio of girls to boys as the simplest whole number ratio. Now, if you want to go ahead and pause the video here, try it on your own, and then check your answer. Feel free, just go ahead and pause it, do your problem, and then check what I wrote. So feel free to do that anytime. Pause it, and then check what I have. Okay, so girls to boys in simplest whole number ratio. So there are 18 girls to 12 boys. Now, one thing I know about 18 and 12, one thing is they're both even. So you could divide by 2. If you choose to do that, you're going to have to divide by 2 a few times to get it simplified. But what I know is that 6 goes into both 18 and 12. So I'm going to divide both of these by 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So my simplest whole number ratio is 3 to 2. So it'd be 3 girls, 2 boys. So what does that mean? Okay, again, it means there are 3 girls for every 2 boys. Now it's asking us to express this as a unit ratio. So again, we have 3 over 2. So to get that as a unit ratio, I know that has to be over 1. Well, to figure out what that is, I'm just going to go to my calculator. Okay, again, 3 over 2, we've already done this one, is 1.5. So 3 divided by 2, 1.5. So 1.5 over 1 is my unit ratio. Okay, now what does that unit ratio mean? It means there are 1.5 times more girls than boys. All right, moving on to the next one here. It says in another math class there are 18 boys and 20 girls. We want to express this as a unit ratio and then compare this result with the unit ratio of girls to boys you obtained in problem 1. So girls to boys, there's 20 girls, 18 boys. All right, I'm going to simplify that. I see that 20 and 18 are both even, so I know I can divide them both by 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. So it's 10 to 9, and if I want that as a unit ratio, so my simplest whole number ratio is 10 over 9. My unit ratio, I go to my calculator here and type in 10 divided by 9, and I get 1.1 repeating. We're just going to round that to 1.1. Okay, explain what this, I'm sorry, it says compare this result with the unit ratio of girls to boys you obtained in problem 1. So in problem 1, it was 1.5 girls for every 1 boy. Here, it's 1.1 girls for every boy. So the ratio of girls to boys is lower in this class. Okay, what does this ratio mean? It means there are 1.1 girls for every 1 boy. Which class is closer to having a 1-to-1 ratio of boys to girls? Okay, this class is closer than the other class. Okay, again, this class was 1.1 to 1. The other class was 1.5 to 1. Okay, we're going to stop this video right here. You can click on the other link to get the rest of these. So go ahead and do that right now. You can stop it and go on to the next one.